Lestrade, my dear fellow. Haven't kept you waiting.
No, not at all. Good evening, Doctor.
Inspector?
Well, any luck, Mr. Holmes?
I've had a very busy day. Not entirely a wasted one. I can now trace each of the busts from the beginning.
The bus? Well, you have your own methods, and it's not for me to say a word against them. But I think I've done a better day's work than you. I've identified the dead man.
You don't say.
Well done, Inspector.
And found a cause for the crime.
Splendid.
There's an officer at the Yard who makes a speciality of Saffron Hill and the Italian Quarter. Inspector Barnes. He knew our victim as soon as he caught sight of him. His name is Pietro Vannucci
Pietro Vannucci, of course.
From Naples. He's believed to be connected with the Mafia, which, as you may know, is a secret political society which enforces its decrees by murder.
Yes, I had heard something of that sort.
So you see, the affair begins to clear up. The man in the photograph, which I shall be obliged if you return, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, my apologies, Lestrade. Careless of me.
Thank you. Now, as I was saying...
Excuse me one moment, would you?
Yes. This fellow is probably an Italian too. Another member of the Mafia, like as not. He's broken the rules in some fashion, and friend Pietro is set on his track. He dogs him, waits for him outside the house, and in the scuffle receives his own death wound. How's that?
Excellent, Inspector. I've no doubt you've got it.
But I didn't quite follow your explanation of the destruction of the busts.
The bus? Ah, that's nothing. Petty larceny, 6 months at most. It's the murder that I'm investigating.
The next stage?
Simple. I'll go down to the Italian Quarter, find the man in the photograph, and arrest him. Will you come with me?
I think not.
Just as you like.
But if you'll come with us tonight, I fancy we'll be able to help you lay him by the heels.
You know where he is?
Well, I can't say for certain, but I do have great hopes.
We'll be going to the Italian Quarter.
No, to Chiswick.
Chiswick?
Mrs. Hudson, an express messenger, if you please.
Inspector? Inspector?
What the devil? Oh, it's you, Doctor. Time, is it?
Yes. Very nearly. I must say, when he said tonight, I didn't think he meant at this sort of hour.
Oh, why do we do it?
Sometimes I wonder. Did you get any sleep at all?
Precious little. No offence to your sofa. Doctor.
Holmes's orders.
Splendid. They've all retired for the night.
How very unusual of them. I hope you know what you're doing, Mr. Holmes.
I take it this is Laburnum Villas.
Bravo, Watson. Yes, I thought it more likely than Lower Grove Road, Reading.
I'm glad you two know what all this is about, because I'm damned if I do.
Well, it's simple enough, Lestrade. We're going to catch your criminal in the act, if the odds fall in our direction.
And how long are we going to have to wait?
It may well be some time.
Wonderful. I don't suppose we can smoke, can we?
Better not to. Well, at least it's not raining.
What was that? What?
To your left, there.
Is that him?
Quiet. Wait.
Look at him. He really is like a monkey.
He's inside. Let's go closer. Yes, near enough, I think. Watson?
Ready.
Excellent.
There he is. He's carrying something.
Of course he is.
Now?
Not yet. Let him get away from the house. Now.
Maledizioni! Look out for the knife! No, you don't! Now!
I strongly advise you not to move.
Are you all right, Mr. Holmes?
I believe so.
Good. Come here, you.
I did exactly as you told me, Mr. Holmes.
You did it superbly, Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Lights burning until 2. Window open a crack. The good Emperor in the front room. Everything.
I hope there wasn't too much damage, Mr. Brown.
Oh, none at all, Doctor. None at all.
Excellent.
Though I feel bound to say that a little disruption would have been a price well worth the paying. My goodness, such excitement.
Pity about your bust, though.
Oh, I'm sure he is proud to have been of service.
Canalia.
That's quite enough of that kind of talk. Sit back there.
Oh, get back!
Well, he is a nasty piece of work, isn't he?
He'll sing a different tune once we've got him back at the yard. Barnes knows all these gentry. You'll put a name to him, and you'll find that my theory of the mafia
Lei
will
non
work.
sa niente della mafia.
Ah, you see? My theory will work out all right. Don't you think so, Mr. Holmes?
As a matter of fact, Lestrade, I do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm exceedingly obliged to you for the way you laid hands on him. As neat a job as ever I've seen.
Inspector.
So, that's another one over and done with.
I don't think so.
No?
Why don't you call round at Baker Street again tomorrow? There are 1 or 2 details still to be finished off.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. Come for dinner. Good.
Now you've found it. You're going to tell me what it is?
Soon.
Silly of me to ask. Where have you been most of today, anyway?
Paying my respects to an old client. Ah, the good inspector. Oh, Watson, I prefer to say nothing until after dinner.
Of course, if that's what you want.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no, no, no.
Watson, this case goes much deeper than Lestrade ever suspected. There's been great suffering caused. We are about to make some small restitution, you and I.
So you see, gentlemen, I was quite right. This Peppo character is well known in the Italian community as a ne'er-do-well. And I've no doubt he ran foul of one or other of the ruling families. And they set out to hunt him down. And before you ask me, Mr. Holmes...
Sorry, forgive me, Lestrade. You were saying?
Before you ask me, he refuses to say one word about those blessed busts.
He must have had a reason, though, surely, Inspector.
Some kind of grudge against Gelder and Company, if you ask me.
Could well be.
If you ask me.
Ah, my visitor, I think.
It's all right, Mrs. Hudson. The gentleman's expected. Mr. Sandiford of Reading, I presume?
Indeed, sir. Have I the honour of addressing Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
You have. Well, I trust your journey wasn't too arduous.
Yes, I fear I am a little late. The trains were awkward.
Oh, dear. Where'd you come in?
Oh, thank you. Gentlemen.
Now, Mr. Sandiford, you have the item. Thank you again, Mr. Sandiford. I trust that your journey back to Reading will be less awkward.
Mr. Holmes, that
The
document...
transferal of ownership.
Quite. Is that normal in matters such as this?
Oh, yes. Absolutely normal, I assure you. Yeah. Good evening.
Gentlemen, my apologies for keeping you waiting.
Don't mention it. What's one more bust of Napoleon between friends? Especially one you just paid £10 for.
Indulge him, Inspector. Let him do this in his own way.
Do we have any choice in the matter?
Gentlemen, observe. First, I cover the table. Yes. Then His Imperial Majesty, the last of his line, the only survivor of the batch of 6, those in the centre, so.
It's a plain enough likeness for all this fuss to be made over it.
You must admit it's interesting to see one in one piece for a change.
Oh, for the love of heaven.
Gentlemen, let me introduce you to one of the most famous objects in the world.
The Black Pearl of the Borgias. Thank you.
This is truly amazing.
Doctor,
The Black Pearl of the Borgias.
it disappeared over a year ago from the bedroom of the Princess of Colonna at the Dacre Hotel. The press cuttings are here, if you're interested. I was consulted on the case.
I didn't know that.
You were away at the time, and I couldn't throw any light on it.
The papers had a field day with the actual crime, but I don't remember anything about a solution.
It was hushed up. The princess's maid was suspected, but it never came to trial. She went and... My God. Her name was...
Her name was Lucrezia Venucci.
Venucci?
The sister of the murdered man, who proved an easy recruit to the Mafia in his thirst for vengeance against the true criminal. Especially since the Mafia were able to tell him exactly who that was.
Beppo. Beppo stole the pearl.
And was still carrying it the first time that the Venucci boy caught up with him.
And a knifing incident at Gilda's factory.
Yes, Venucci failed to kill Beppo, but he did put pay to his plans. The police were there in minutes, and Beppo couldn't afford to be caught with the pearl on him. So, as they chased him through the factory, he got rid of it into the base of one of the 6 Napoleons on the drying rack.
So all this nonsense was him looking for the right one? Good grief. It's amazing that he could trace them after a year in jail.
Well, he had the advantage of members of his own community passing him information. It was his bad fortune that the pearl was in the only bust he never actually laid his hands on.
His bad fortune? And our good.
Good fortune a year too late. The shame she brought to her family was more than Lucrezia Venucci could bear. She hanged herself in her cell.
Oh, God.
Pietro Venucci's one desire was to avenge the death of his sister. The passage of a year did nothing to diminish it. He must have been dogging Beppo since his release, till he finally caught up with him on Mr. Horace Harker's front steps.
Where his thirst for vengeance proved to be stronger than his skill with a knife.
One more life uselessly thrown away. A family destroyed because of my failure to solve a straightforward burglary.
Well, I've seen you handle a good many cases, Mr. Holmes, but I don't know that I ever knew a more workmanlike one than that. We're not jealous of you at Scotland Yard. No, sir. We're proud of you. And if you come down tomorrow, there's not a man, from the oldest inspector to the youngest constable, who wouldn't be glad to shake you by the hand.
Thank you, Lestrade. Thank you. Put the pearl in the safe, Watson.
Holmes?
And get out the papers of the Conk-Singleton forgery case, would you?
Of course.
In The Six Napoleons, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams, with Donald G. as Inspector Lestrade. Lucrezia was played by Federe Holmes, Venucci, Alberto and Harding by John Church, Brown and Gelder by David Holt, Pietro and Stock by Matthew Morgan, Beppo by James Telfer, Hudson and Sanderford by John Fleming, Harker by Peter Penry Jones, and the Inspector by Eric Allen. The violinist was Leonard Friedman. The Six Napoleons was dramatized for radio by Bert Coules and directed by Patrick Rayner.